Welcome to the first Meet the Candidates Forum. It's sponsored by the Roane County Chamber of Commerce and Leadership Roane County, and sponsored by Roane State Community College, BBB Communications, Channel 12, and AGA Insurance. I'm Kent Stevens. I'm with WIVK Radio in Knoxville and also AGA Insurance, and I have the honor of being your host tonight. All candidates in all countywide races were invited to participate tonight. Many agreed, some were unable to for various reasons. So those who were not here weren't left out. They were just unable to attend. Tonight's event is not a debate, it's a forum where the candidates will get to tell you why you should vote for them. There are going to be three groups of candidates. Group one is here now. The offices are Register of Deeds and the Roane County Chancellor. Group two will be county executives, and group three will be for the State House of Representatives, District 32. We'll start with our candidates for Register of Deeds. Now, each of you are going to have 4 minutes. And what I'd like for you to do is, remember, we're not debating, so I want you to tell voters why they should vote for you. We're not interested in knowing why they shouldn't vote for your opponent. What we'd like for you to do is introduce yourself, kind of explain your platform, and tell us what you'd like to do in your first 100 days in office or in office again. And we'll start with the incumbent. Our incumbent for the office of Register of Deeds is Sharon Brackett.
Good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank you all for having us out, and I appreciate everybody attending. As you know, I'm Sharon Brackett. I'm the Register of Deeds. Little background about me. I was born and raised in Roane County. I graduated Roane County High School in 1992. Shortly after high school, I began working in the Register of Deeds office, and in 2006, I was elected Register of Deeds. In August, I will have been there 30 years. I'm a member of the East Tennessee Registers Association. In 2016 and 17, I was named Register of the Year by the East Tennessee Registers Association. I'm a member of the Tennessee Registers Association, County Officials Association of Tennessee, past member of the Roane County Association of Women's Executives, past member of the Roane County Heritage Commission, member of the Roane County Public Records Commission, a certified public administrator with recertification every year, also a 2011 graduate of Leadership Roane County, a 2013 graduate of East Tennessee Regional. Like I said, I've been the Register for almost 30 years, or 16 actually, but I've been working in that office. My platform is just to continue to do the same service as I have been. The last 2 years was a little challenging. We dealt with the pandemic. My office was never closed during that pandemic. I kept it open. We had to put procedures in place so my office would not close, because title searchers, surveyors, attorneys depend on my office. The Register of Deeds is a records keeper of the county. If you own property in Roane County, your deed is located in my office, either through the hard books or on the computer software. Also, it's held in the Tennessee State Archives. During this pandemic, we had to learn remote notaries. How do you do things online? To keep from face-to-face contact. We dealt with a lot of challenging issues, but not one time was my office closed. I was at a seminar this spring, and it was a First American Title Company was there, and he made this quote that the American economy is based on private ownership of real property. I had to think about that for a while, and it makes sense. He called us the registers as the gatekeepers of the county. My office does not work accurately. Nothing works. There could be no houses sold. Your mortgages, you would not be able to buy a house. One of the things that I'm proud of that I put in place last July, and I will have flyers if anybody's interested, is the fraud alert. Everybody is concerned about fraud, and I have put in place, it's no cost. You go to the Roane County website, go to Register of Deeds, find my name, and there'll be a blue button that says fraud alert. You go in, put your email address, and anytime we record something, you will get an email. If you have any questions later, I'll be glad to talk to you. You're welcome to come in my office. I would love to meet you, and I would just appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Is Michael Elmore. Michael, you have 4 minutes.
I'm 45 years old. I graduated high school in Roane County in 1997. I graduated from Roane State Community College in 1999 with a secondary education degree. I presently work for Lowe's for 14 years, and I helped the Roane State men's and women's basketball team for 24 years. I want to help the community as much as I can in the county. 3 reasons why I'm running for office. Number 1 is I feel like if you're making $90,000 a year, you should show up to work. At 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and be there for the county citizens and the county voters and the taxpayers. And another reason I'm running is there has never been a man working in the Register of Deeds office for 28 years. And the county executive's office told me that there's never been a man in that office. And they said that they don't know why there's never been a man in that office. It can be a county lawsuit waiting to happen because there's discrimination against men and women in the workforce, and nobody has a work opportunity to work in that office because they're a man or a woman. I will hire the most qualified people, whether you're a man or a woman. And for my first 100 days in office, I will be with us, go for state training, make sure my office staff goes for state training, and I'll be happy where the state provides for me and my staff to learn in that office. And I think my time's almost up, but I'm a Christian man, honest person, and I want to do what's best for the county, no matter what it is. And I want to make sure that I'm there from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. for my employees and for the county. I do not want anybody to feel neglected while I'm there at work. And that's just something that's not happening right now in the county. It's most of county officials is not there for the public and not there for the taxpayers. There's just nobody there in the office. Like, I've been there some mornings at 10:30 in the morning and there's nobody there. I just don't like it. And I don't think the county appreciates this. And if I was a citizen and a taxpayer in the county, I wouldn't appreciate this at all. And if elected, I promise I will be there. And God bless. I want what's best for the county.
I can give each of you 1 more minute if you'd like.
So I have, about the Register of Deeds office, I have a great staff. I have a staff of 3 full-time employees. One of my ladies have been there 15 years. The other lady has been there 14 years. And then I have one that's been there 12. I really haven't hired anybody. When they come and they work, they do a great job, and I have never had a male even put in a resume for this job. So I just want to let you know about my staff and how great they are and how long they've been with me. And they're very loyal and great workers, and my office runs great. I'm very familiar with the TCA code because everything that we record has to be compliance with the TCA, Tennessee Code Annotated. The state governs my office. They make all the laws, and I just follow the regulations. I just look forward to any questions you all have. I could sit here all day and tell you about this office. This is what I've done for 30 years, but I'll be glad to talk to you, meet with you. If you have any questions about your deed, about me, I'll be happy to answer them for you. Thank you.
If you have a lien on your property, you have a piece of property, and you want to go to the Register of Deeds office and ask if there's a lien on your property. They will tell you that you need a title search because they think it's a part of a title search, but it's just asking for a lien on your property. All the other counties surrounding us, they will give you the lien on that property if you ask if there is a lien on that property. It's part of a public records. And you can ask for it, and it should be on the computer system in that office. All the counties surrounding us has it on their computer system. And to pay for a title search, you have to pay like $500 to $1,000 to a lawyer. And where that information is in the office on the computer for free. There's like McMinn County, Blount County, Loudoun County, Anderson County, Cumberland County, all the other counties around us has that information in their office. If elected, I will give you the information if it's in the computer system for free, no charge.
Let's go to the Chancellor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Frank Williams, and I have been the Chancellor of the 9th Judicial District for 38 years. I heard at the beginning it said that the Chancellor was the Chancellor of Roane County. Well, no. I'm the Chancellor of Morgan, Roane, Morgan, Loudoun, and Meigs counties, 4 counties. And I have been riding that circuit for 38 years. And before that, I tried lawsuits for 11 years with J. Polk Cooley and Russell Simmons down in Rockwood. And I can tell you that things are different today than they were back then. Because in the 1970s, on up until the time I was elected, we were in court almost every day somewhere. If not criminal court, then in one of the civil courts. In criminal court, I've tried capital murder cases. In circuit court, I've tried automobile accident cases, property damage cases, where we're seeking to have a jury fix damages for personal injury or property damage. But then my favorite court, and the one where I spent most of my time, was in Chancery Court. Because in Chancery Court, we tie different kinds of lawsuits, land lawsuits, boundary line lawsuits, quiet title actions, roadways, things of that sort. We try construction lawsuits, and most construction cases come off without a hitch, but every now and then you'll have a construction project that just seems to be snake bit. And so there are lots of problems, and those types of cases really are not suitable for a jury to come in and fix damages, because a jury of 12 people would have a hard time looking at all the photographs and hearing from all the experts and looking at all of the invoices and other things that come in the course of a construction lawsuit. And then in addition, one of the things that we see a growth in are grandparent adoptions. We have increasing numbers of grandparents coming into court to adopt their own grandchildren, because we have such an incredible problem in this nation today with young people, young adults, 20 to 45 years of age, who are into drugs, they're in gangs, they're in jail, they've taken off for Timbuktu. But before they went, the grandparents were able to get them to sign a consent or surrender or something. And so here come the grandparents in seeking an adoption. And so we've done dozens, if not hundreds of those in 4 counties. And these things are troubling. And this is just what I'm seeing in my 4 counties. If this is happening as I see it in my 4 counties, if it's happening across America, then I say that we're in trouble. And we can look around, we could talk about the economy, we could talk about fuel shortages, electrical power shortages, and things of that sort. But if you just look at what is happening to the family, you would see that we're in trouble. Folks, I am conservative. I'm opposed to judicial activism in all of its forms. I'm opposed to it, regardless of who it is. And I was thinking before we got started, sort of giggling to myself, the last time I was on this stage was back in the 1990s when the president of Roane State Community College invited me to come here and debate a member of the board of directors of the ACLU about the Constitution. And so we had that debate right here on this stage back in the 1990s. And I still remember, I can't tell you what year, but it was interesting. I wish you could have been here back then to listen. All of those 11 years that I spent in practice, including those 38 years that I've spent trying thousands of lawsuits, have been learning experiences. There are a lot of people who are campaigning today for term limits. And for some politicians who are in a position to enrich themselves by public service, that may be and probably is a good idea. But for me, it's a learning experience. And the more years, the more I've learned. All those 11 years that I was in practice, I lost some cases. And every one of those cases that I lost, I learned something. Later on, when I was trying a lawsuit on the bench, I was able to think back, oh yeah, I remember that case we tried back in such and such a year, and I lost it, and here's why. So you learn. 38 years of doing a job teaches you how to do it.
Yeah, we've got to move to Tom McFarland, who's the challenger.
My name's Tom McFarland. I'm a candidate for chancellor. I grew up in this community and graduated from Rockwood High School, and then I went to school here at Roane State for a year before going on to the University of Tennessee. And then after I graduated from there, I went to law school at what at the time was Memphis State University. Of course, they've gotten all cleaned up since I left, and they're the University of Memphis now. But I've been here ever since, practiced 32 years. And I've been involved in the community here during that time. I raised money for Roane County for the Leukemia Society of America. I've worked for Habitat for Humanity. I've been on the board of directors of the Roane County Chamber of Commerce. I'm a graduate of leadership in Roane County and a lot of other things. But I've been involved here in Roane County, and I've always tried to give back. The most important thing for me in my life has been as a single parent. I understand where you are as a single parent. I raised my two children. My son, Tommy, is now working, great job in Nashville. My daughter, Krista Jane, she came to me and says, "Dad, I don't want to go to college." Of course, I about had a heart attack. I said, what's going on? And she had these ideas, and as it turns out, she's the majority stockholder in a corporation called True Care Incorporated, where she has really found her own niche in the home health care industry. So I'm really proud of the direction both my children took, and I'm really proud of where they are today. I was elected county attorney for Roane County in 1998, and I served 4 terms as your county attorney. I'm currently the city attorney for the city of Harriman, and also the city attorney for the city of Oliver Springs. And so one thing I talk about is my experience. Over these 32 years, I've been in chancery courts all across the state. I've seen different methods, I've seen different procedures, I've seen judges have different ways of looking at things, and I know some judges do things differently, but all of that is experience that I think I could bring to the job. I want to talk about technology, because I think technology is an important part of my campaign. What you'll hear me out there talking about is technology, my experience, and temperament. I've talked about my experience a little bit, but technology, Roane County received a $100,000 grant during the pandemic. The virus changed a lot of things. And that $100,000 was used to bring in technology to the court system here from a place called Signal Wire. And Signal Wire hooked up all the courts with all the jails and had a lot of benefits for Roane County. And all the other counties in this district is inside it also. It does a lot of things. It keeps those inmates in jail. And we don't have to pay deputies to bring those inmates over all the time when they've got to testify. Someone who's in contempt, someone that's not paid child support, who's in jail, they can testify through it's a face-to-face, but they're at the jail and the judge is on the bench or wherever the judge may be. It's a real benefit to law enforcement. You know, over these 32 years, I've seen these law enforcement people so tired in court. They've worked all night, but they've got to sit there until they testify at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we're paying them overtime. Whereas you could say, hey, call in here at 2 o'clock this afternoon when you wake up, we'll take your testimony. This technology would also bring less continuances. I've seen over the years, you got your trial scheduled, and then it comes up, one of the lawyers or the judge or whoever is on vacation. Well, your case gets put off. But this is a way you could conduct business there with this technology that would prevent a lot of those continuances. And anybody that's been involved with the court system knows that that's just a necessary evil sometimes, but to work for less continuances is a good thing. And finally, it also would give you greater accessibility to the judge. You know, if the judge is out of town, you can still talk to that judge through this technology. But the problem with the technology, it's in every jail in our 4 counties. It's in every courtroom in our 4 counties, except Chancery Court. Chancery Court does not have this technology. I will bring it on the first day. I guess we're going to talk about the first 100 days. That's what I would be working on. You know, there was another grant we received just where there would be monitors. It's so confusing when you walk in there. But the monitor would show what court you're in and show the docket where you're supposed to go. That was, again, accepted by all the courts except for Chancery Court. And when I talk about technology, those are the kind of things that I'm going to bring into Chancery Court. I'm going to bring Chancery Court into the 21st century. Thanks.
Would you show them your appreciation? We'll start now with Group 2, candidates for County Executive, Wayne Best and Wade Cresswell. The way I'll do this is, it's okay, go ahead. The way I'll do this is ask one candidate a question, the other will answer the same question, then the second question will go to we'll go back and forth so that each one has the opportunity to speak first. Many of you know these two men very well, and I encourage you to refer to their biographies in the program that you got tonight. What we're going to do, this is a little bit different than Group 1. We have questions that came from the audience as well as an online survey that we've conducted over the past month. And we found in the survey online and in the audience questions too that there are 4 broad categories that the questions all fell into: economic development, education, infrastructure, and substance misuse. So the questions will all come from those categories. You guys heard the rules earlier. You willing to abide by the rules tonight?
Yes.
No attacks on each other?
Absolutely
All right,
not.
good deal. Let's get started with our first question. With nearly 80% of new net job creation coming from existing companies in our community, what are your thoughts of offering a payment in lieu of taxes, also known as pilot, to encourage existing companies to invest, grow, and expand here? We'll start with Mr. Best.
It's okay if I stand up as I talk?
Sure.
Okay. I think pilots are great. I think that we need to utilize them more for the growth of Roane County. Pilot is a payment in lieu of taxes. I think that we need to be on top of our game as we recruit And I think a pilot helps us do that. I think that when we go out and we recruit our businesses and we talk to them, we have to offer them something. Businesses are not just coming here anymore just because they can. They come because we go and get them, and we sell ourselves by selling what we have. And I think that a pilot will help us. It gives us the tools that we need to work with. As I think about pilots, I think about, we've done something similar in the city of Harriman. We worked with a company, you know, to make sure that we got them in Roane County. We worked to make sure we gave them a pilot, which means instead of coming in and let's say their taxes are $100,000 is what their taxes per year is. What we did was we just froze that and gave it as a payment of, let's say, $50,000 for an 8-year period. And what we have to understand in that, a lot of people say, well, we don't need to give. In this day and time, you have to give. You have to give to get. And the jobs that it brings in, I think that the county has a pilot program set up that we use, or IDBG uses it. I think that we use it based off matrix, based off of how many jobs it brings in, how many employers, the wages that they pay. So I think that we must use a pilot. I think that any means to bring business to Roane County, we have to do that.
Thank you, Kent. Thank you, Roane Alliance, Roane Chamber Board, Industrial Development Board, Roane County, for holding this event tonight. Great turnout. Thank you all for coming out. It's an honor to be here and get to talk to you, tell you a little bit about my story, and to talk about the issues that are important to you that you indicated through this survey. To get right to the point and be specific about this particular question, for almost 5 years I served as the president and CEO of the Roane Alliance, and served as in that role you're the chief economic developer for the county. A payment in lieu of taxes is an instrument that communities use to incentivize companies so that when they apply their business model to all of the sites that they're looking at locating throughout the country or region or wherever they're looking, they put those variables through their business model, and the site that shows them where they're going to be the most profitable is usually the site that they choose. And if you're a community that doesn't offer a tax incentive package like a pilot, another one is a tax incremental financing, a TIF, is another very common tool that we haven't ever used in Roane County, but what we should consider. Other communities do it. If you don't have those tools in your toolbox, you will never be considered for a project, because that business model is going to show that they can be more profitable somewhere else. So to answer the question is, you have to have every tool available to you to be able to even be in the game to recruit companies to locate to your community. Now, that doesn't mean that tax incentives apply to every project. As Mayor Best said, there are certain parameters that you apply to any project, and that's the number of jobs they're going to create, how much money they're going to spend on building the building. You can build whatever you want into those parameters. We rewrote the pilot agreement with the city of Oak Ridge and with ACEDA, which is the Anderson County Economic Development Agency, because Oak Ridge has industrial sites in Roane County and Anderson County. So you couldn't have any disagreement if let's say, for example, Oak Ridge is recruiting a company to locate at Horizon Center off of Galahar Road. Well, if they had a pilot agreement that disagreed with the Roane County pilot agreement, which actually happened at one time, then you've got a conflict that you've got to untangle, and that's a real mess. So we rewrote that agreement so that all three of those are in line with each other, and creates a more fluid situation when you're recruiting companies so that there's not any conflict. So the short answer is yes, we absolutely have to have them, and it gives us a level playing field when you're competing with other communities. Thank you.
Question number 2, we'll start with Mr. Cresswell. How can our government, we're on the campus of Roane State, how can our government work closely with colleges, technical colleges, and workforce development organizations to better prepare our communities for the workforce skills needed to attract organizations with high quality jobs to our community?
Right, thank you. We are incredibly blessed in Roane County in ways that not many communities are, to have both a TCAT and a community college that's so invested in our local community and so engaged with the local school system. The Roane Chamber Board has 3 permanent positions on it: the director of Roane County Schools, the president of TCAT Harriman, and the president of Roane State Community College. to be invested in the business community. But what that does is it takes the business community and it places a high priority and emphasis on education from K all the way through community college. So we're not only blessed to have these in Roane County and to have them so engaged in our community, but we're also blessed with exceptional leadership at every level. To have Dr. Whaley, to have Dennis Turpin, and to now have Russell Jenkins in those roles, people who know our community so well, who are invested in it personally, and engaged and committed to working together, creates a unique opportunity so that our government officials can also have the opportunity to engage in that process, to place a great priority on the importance of education in everything from everything that we're going to talk about tonight. Education is going to be a bedrock foundation for everything that we're going to talk about. So I would say we are blessed to have what we have. I think that the level of engagement is incredible right now, and it just puts us in a situation where we continue to build off of that. Thank you.
I think that us as a county government, we must work with our school systems, our colleges, with TCAP, and we are blessed. Roane County is blessed to have Roane State Community College, TCAP, the people that's in charge of them, as Mr. Creswell said. I think that we are working right now. I think that Roane County has come a long way in the last 5 years in building that gap that we've missed for so long out in the employment world. I think that middle college is helping some of that. I think dual enrollment is helping some of that. Middle college is if when you become a junior in high school, if you want to go to college, you go to college. As a junior, you stay 2 years, you graduate with your degree plus your associate's degree from college. I think that's a great thing. I think that's preparing our young people. I also think that dual enrollment is basically the same thing. You go to your junior year, you decide you want to stay in high school, you don't want to take college, but you want to go to TCAP. You want to learn a trade. Half the day you're at TCAP, half the day you're at the high school. Now some of the things that TCAP offers and things are at the high school. So I think that we work with them and we support them. From a government, we support them. We help them because we understand that, I say this all the time, the kids are not so much our future. We always hear that. We hear that our children's our future. They're our working tomorrow. Folks, they're our today. If we don't train them today, and we don't help them today, and we don't support them today, forget tomorrow. So we've got to get involved today. We can sit on the back row all we want to and talk about it, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. We've got to get in and support them. We've got to be leaders. We've got to be role models that they look up to. And to be those role models, we need to be a part of it. We need to be standing hand in hand with our colleges, with TCAP, with our schools, showing that we're there to support them.
Mr. Best, this next question will also be from you. This comes actually from the audience, and then I'm going to add just a little bit to it. Would you be willing to tour the schools and listen to concerns? What I'd like to add to it is, would you talk to us about how you plan on working closely with the school board?
To answer the first question, I would love to tour the schools. I've toured the schools many a time as mayor, as a small business owner in the community that services the schools. I've been in our schools many a time. I think there's needs in our schools. There's needs that sometimes we don't see. I think that's where our issue has been for the last how many ever years is the county commission and the school board working together to come up with a plan that best works for all of Roane Countyans and best works for our young people. As I said a while ago, our young people are today. One of the first things I will do as soon as I take office is, if I'm gifted that position, is to work with our school board closely and to work with our county commission and to understand that it's okay to disagree. It's okay, but we must move forward. We can't disagree and just stop and say, we're not doing this or we're not doing that. Whatever it may be, we have to work for the betterment of our children. We have to give them the opportunities. Now, I'm not telling you that building new schools and doing things like that is the best thing. I'm not in there looking at those numbers, but I am saying the best thing for Roane County is that we work as a team. We agree to disagree and we move on. But we have to work together, and I'm excited if I get this position, to be able to take the two groups and work us together and become a team. I'm a team builder, and I look forward to the challenge of making us a team and working as one.
Yes, 100% absolutely, to not only tour the schools, but to encourage our county commissioners to do the same in a group, to make sure that we are studying what it costs to do what we're doing now, not just the actual cost, but what our opportunity costs are, what we're missing on, but to basically get an absolute clear understanding of what we're dealing with right now, both in the facilities and programming, but whatever our challenges may be. But I want to add this to that question too, before I talk about working with the school board. One of the reasons why I wanted to run for this position, and one of the things most important to me, is about making sure that our kids have at least the same opportunities that our kids in neighboring communities have. You can go pick a direction. You want to go north to Oak Ridge High School or Anderson County High School, there are opportunities there that our kids don't have. You want to go east, we can go to Lenore City High School, the closest next one. There are opportunities there that our kids don't have. If we go south, we can go to Ray Central High School. There are opportunities there that our kids don't have. And then you can go west to the next closest school, Stone Memorial High School. There are opportunities there that our kids don't have. I've got a rising freshman who's sitting back there in the back. And we love his school. We love his experience and what's going on. But my fear is that our kids are coming out of school and ready to take the next step, whether that be directly into a job, whether it be through TCAT, Roane State, or a university, and they're at a disadvantage relative to the kids in other counties. Whatever the model is chosen by the school board when that time comes, I want to make sure that we have the same opportunities that kids in other counties have. Regarding working with the school board, I've had an opportunity to work closely with the school board in my role, particularly when I was at the Roane Alliance. And I got to see their process and what they went through. And the last time, they've tried to bring a couple of models forward to the county commission. One was defeated. And then I think the second one wasn't clear all the way brought forward. But anyway, the school board's been dealing in a situation where they're kind of flying blind. And it's nobody's fault, really. It's just the fact that the school board hasn't had a clear understanding of what the county commission would be willing to consider. So what that means is, if we're really going to start this process and determine what our needs are and help address those as a community and get with buy-in across the community, it's got to start at the county commission. The commission's going to have to provide the parameters, meaning what the commission absolutely has to have in any model that's brought forward and what the commission absolutely cannot have in any plan that's brought forward. So that then that can be presented to the school board, and then you've got parameters to work with. And if that's done with an agreement between the two, saying, okay, if you do that, bring a plan forward that has all of this and none of this, whatever that may be, then we'll consider it. That'll be an open door to a dialogue that has not existed before. What that requires is somebody to work with commission to help find common ground and establish consensus so those parameters can be established. That's a role I want to play as county executive. It's not up to the county executive to decide what the school situation is going to look like going down the road. It can be that person's role to help be a mediator, to help to provide leadership and direction that gets us to a situation where that dialogue is happening openly and in a healthy way for all of us. That's what I'd like to do to work with the school board. Thank you.
On November 15th, 2021, the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, IIJA, also known as the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, or bill, was signed into law. It authorizes $1.2 trillion for transportation and infrastructure spending. Funding from the IIJA is expansive in its reach, addressing energy and power infrastructure, access to broadband internet, water infrastructure, and more. As the implementation gets underway, how will you prioritize our community capital needs and develop a project pipeline, and how will you work with the Commission on this plan?
Thank you. I think there's a great parallel here. You got to go back to 2008 to the Kingston Ash bill. And in 2 to 3 years after that, TVA said, here's a pot of money, $43 million, as a settlement. And basically, here's your money. And at the time, we weren't ready. We weren't ready as a community to know what to do with those funds. There had been no long-term plan to say, look, if there's an influx of cash at any certain time, or if our revenue improves drastically, what were our highest priority needs at the time? And what happened was, we ended up splitting that money up in the communities based on what they came up with at the time. They were very active. Instead of being forward-thinking and focusing on strategic long-term planning ahead of time. So now here we are in a similar situation where we're about to see this pot of money, this influx of cash, but there's not a plan to say, here are our highest priority needs, and here's how we want to address them. That's the solution. We have to start working together as the county executive and the commission, representing all of our communities, to say, studying first of all where we are, to know exactly, have a clear picture of what everything that we're doing, all the facilities that we have are costing us right now. Who do we want to be and where do we want to be 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years down the road? What do we want to look like as a community? What's going to be the most important thing to us? Where do we want to grow? Where do we not want to grow? Where do we want to invest in infrastructure or not? So when we have that plan, then when it comes time and an influx of cash comes in here for whatever reason it may be, this will happen again for other reasons, then we'll have a plan for exactly how to spend that money and what our highest priorities are. So to begin that process now, and to place a great, again, a priority with commission, working hand in hand with commission to do that, plan the work and then work the plan. I think that's what we should do as soon as we possibly can.
I'd like to say first, I hope that since this plan was put into effect September of 2021, that our county executive and our county commission is already putting a plan into place. That when the new county executive goes in and the new county commissioners go in, we will start working on that plan. I know from the city of Harriman, we've already started working on it. We're working on it with our utility company. We're working on it with our street department, looking at our bridge, our roads, our things that we need. As Mr. Creswell said, I think you have to have a plan. I think a lot of times we get caught up without a plan. One of the most important things that I think that a county has to have is a plan going forward. A plan as to where we're going, how we're getting there, and how quick we're going to make it happen. And I think that's what we're missing. I think there's a lot of money coming down the pipeline, $1.2 trillion. Looking, as we've been searching it and looking at it from the city level, there's a lot of money going to be hitting the state of Tennessee. The state of Tennessee could get more money than a lot of the other states because we have a lot more needs. But we've got to put the plan into place. When they come in and they hand you that money, they want to see that plan. They're not just going to come in and say, okay, here's you $50 million, do with it what you want. They're looking at your plan. You're applying for this. This is not free money that we've been getting. This is money that we apply for based on the needs that we have. And Roane County has a lot of needs. One of the first things that I will do is look at the plan I hope that we're already working on, and then I'll meet with our department heads and figure out what we need. One of the most important things we must do also is listen. Listen to the people. Listen to what we need in Roane County. Look and take care of those needs. As he said, the TVA funds, we got $44 million, and boom, it's spent here because we didn't have a plan. We've got some great things out of it. I'm not going to say we haven't. We've got great things out of it. Probably could have had a lot more better things that we could have worked on. But we must have a plan and we must move forward. I'm excited about the funds, but I think the first thing we do is start implementing our plan.
The incoming county executive will have decisions to make about the opioid settlement money that could save lives in Roane County. The State Opioid Abatement Council is recommending that the funds be spent on the continuum of care, which includes prevention, treatment, and recovery. How would you allocate this funding to make the biggest impact on our community?
I think first and foremost, before the money gets here, we must have a plan for it. We must sit down with our sheriff, with our municipalities, with our local police chiefs, and figure out what we need and how we need it. I know in Roane County, one of the biggest problems that we have is lack of recovery. You know, we can go arrest somebody, we can haul them to jail. They usually beat our officers back home. We have a problem. We have a problem with drugs right now. We all know it. And the sad part about it is it probably affects each and every one of us in here. I know it personally affects me. And I know that I want something done. And as the mayor of Harriman, I've tried to work. We've just implemented a new program, Turn Up the Heat, which is pushing our officers to get more drugs off the street. But back on the funding, I think that we must have a plan. We must know what we're looking at. I think we must look at recovery. You know, there's got to be an answer. This is a sickness that is affecting our county. It's affecting our nation. And I think that we must look at it, work with the people that are specialists in it, and take a plan and move forward with it.
Man, this is a tough question, and I appreciate Mayor Beth's answer. I don't think there's a family in here who's not impacted personally. It may be impacted right now by this problem. Every ill, arguably, that we face as a society, this is the root cause. It is the issue. And I mean, it can be really emotional to talk about because of the devastating impact that it has. Fortunately, we have people working on this in so many different capacities, many of whom are here tonight who see this every single day in their job or wherever they may be. Everything from prevention to recovery, with the judicial system, law enforcement in between. So many people working to make a dent in this issue. I think in developing a plan, I couldn't agree more that we have to plan with the best way. I mean, we just said it. If we're going to have an influx of cash, we need to decide what are our highest priorities. What's our current assessment? What's working? What's not? What's our best return on investment for how our funds are spent? I know in talking to our great folks at Roane County Anti-Drug Coalition and the progress that we're seeing in declines in teen drug use, focusing on prevention has to be one of our focuses. I mean, I drew an analogy in thinking about that example to early childhood education. If you think about education, and what grade is it where healthcare, or not healthcare, where education professionals say that is a turning point, was the inflection point, to be able to tell whether a student is going to have a high trajectory and good achievement or they're going to struggle. It's third grade. So I mean, that was the reason why the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library was created, was to help promote early childhood literacy, because if not by third grade, children aren't reading at a good level, then they're probably going to struggle as you go on. So you could look at that, if you kind of draw a parallel between this issue and education, as prevention being a great place to receive a high return on investment. That being said, people are still going to be caught up in the situation, so you've got to find a way to reach them. I know in talking to our law enforcement officials, a lot of times they feel restricted in how they can help people. You know, they've got processes and procedures and how to apply the law and how to treat people who are breaking the law, when they really know that this person really just needs help. And sending them right back to jail every single time in this cycle isn't helpful. Thankfully, we got great programming in our jail. What Sheriff Stockton's doing through programming in the jail to help reduce recidivism and break drug addiction in the jail programs. And then you've got Drug Recovery Court, which is an incredible program to help break the cycle for those very fortunate few who are chosen to do that. So there's many pieces of this puzzle, and I think it's going to take all of us. I've mentioned just a few agencies and a few folks who are working on it now, but the truth of the matter is we're not going to make a dent in this issue until every single one of us is willing to get in the ditch with people who we know who are going through it. I see faces in the audience right now who I know have been in the ditch with people who are in it right now, trying to help them break that cycle of addiction. And it's the hardest thing you'll probably ever do in your life, but that's really what it's going to take for us to overcome this. I'd love to provide leadership in that area, help, as a county executive, help define what that plan looks like, but more than anything, I'd be passionate about bringing people together to help make sure that this is a priority for every single one of us, because that's what it's going to take for us to really reduce it in our community.
What do you see the role of the county executive being in working with the school board on keeping our students and staff, faculty safe?
These are tough. These are emotional questions all of a sudden, because the potential of being hit personally by any of these, by drug addiction or by school violence, imagining the unthinkable. So I mentioned I've got a rising freshman, and he's going to be in high school. Roane County Schools, I know Harriman City Schools built Harriman High School since then, but Roane County Schools hasn't built a high school since the 1950s. In 1950s, school safety, the way we're having to think about it, wasn't even a concept that you had to think about. People went to school with guns and gun racks in their trucks, and it was okay. You hunted on the way to school. And now the thought, so I can drive into the school parking lot where my son's going to go to school. I know where he's going to take a math class, and I can park and look right in to where he's going to be taking class. And the thought of, what we just saw in Texas happen, and knowing how next to impossible, I would say impossible, but I'll leave a little room. Maybe there's room that we can secure them, but it's hard to imagine that these facilities that weren't built with safety in mind can actually be secured in ways that they need to be now. So when we go back to that facility discussion that we talked about earlier about prioritizing what our needs are as a community, we have to think about school safety in that discussion. I'm begging you as a dad to place a high priority on that, not necessarily coming at it from even this role. But we got to show leadership and make sure that this is one of the highest priorities when that discussion takes place. For when the school board decides when it's time to bring a new model of education to the county commission, that has got to be an absolute priority.
As Mr. Creswell said, it is a high priority, if not the highest priority, the safety of our children. I had a gentleman ask me about 2 weeks ago, he said, "What are you going to do about protecting my kid at school?" My first thought was, what do you mean, what am I going to do to protect your kid at school? And as we continue to talk, he explained the safety of the school. And we all look at it. I have a kid entering the 8th grade. And the concern is, are they safe? I can't always be with them. His mother can't always be with him. We have to depend upon the schools to make sure that they're okay. We have to know in our heart that the schools are doing everything they can. So I started looking into it. I thought, well, I want to make sure. So I reached out to our SOR officers. I reached out to the gentleman that's in charge of them. I said, what are we doing? What are we doing in Roane County to make sure that our children, our most precious asset, is taken care of? They're proposing 5 new SORs in this year's budget, which County Commission is voting on tonight. It's been presented to County Commission. It's passed already their budget committee, so it is being presented before the whole commission tonight. What that does is, I'll use Harriman for an example. Harriman has 3 schools in it: Harriman High School, Harriman Middle School, and Bowers. Harriman Middle School and Harriman High School are basically on the same plat. They're side by side. But what happens with a school resource officer in Harriman, we only have one. Every town has one. We have one that's at Bowers half a day, the middle school part of the day, and at the high school part of the day. So that person roams. What this new proposal does is it puts one officer at the high school and the middle school on the same ground, and it puts an officer at Bowers. And it does that throughout every city inside of our county. Every school district, 5 school districts, it puts an extra officer at each one of them to make sure that our kids are protected. I asked the question, what about metal detectors? Have we looked at, and then I understand how hard metal detectors are, and a school had tried it, and he was showing me the scenario. It took them until about 11:40 that afternoon to get everybody in school because of the metal detectors. I understand that. But I think that, that we teach our teachers, and they teach our teachers, side doors, make sure they're shut, make sure they're locked. You can't get inside of a school anymore. If you've been to a school lately and you go and try to open the door, you don't walk in anymore. You push a button and you go in. So I think our schools, I think our sheriff's department, I think our SORs are working hard to protect our children. There's no guarantees. But I think as government, we give them everything that we can to make sure that they have the tools to protect them. Whether that's additional funding, whether that's additional employees, whatever we need to do to protect our number one asset in our community, our children, we have to do that. We have to be in support.
We talked about the IIJA and the $1.2 trillion that's been appropriated by Washington. It includes $65 billion in investment to close the digital divide and ensure access that all Americans have fast, high-speed, reliable, affordable internet access, broadband. How will you make sure that Roane County takes full advantage of that money?
I would just get Tony and Dale Byer to take care of it, because they've been working diligently and making sure that Roane County is taken care on the high-speed internet side. They've been to our council meetings numerous times. They've been at county commission, and they've worked diligently in this. They need our support. Inside the city of Harriman, we don't have any areas that don't have high-speed internet. So as a mayor, it hasn't been top priority for me. And I apologize, because I haven't seen the need as much by where I've been. But as I've looked and I've learned, we have problems in Roane County with high-speed internet. You know, COVID has changed the way that we do things. It's changed our lifestyle. My wife, prior to COVID, went to Alcoa every day. That's where she worked. Since COVID, she goes to Alcoa 1 day a week, and she works remotely at home 4 days a week. She has to have high-speed internet. It has to function. When it goes down, she goes down. When she goes down, the company goes down. So high-speed internet is important to all of us. We need to do our part to make sure that we grab these funds. We must have a plan now, and I know you guys are working on a plan now. I have talked to, Bell South, Comcast. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. They all want to come in. The county just approved out of their ARPA funds spending almost $2 million to get broadband in some areas of Roane County that we don't have it. I think they're working with Comcast to reach those areas. But we still have some more. We still got work to do. So I think that we need to get a plan. We need to go after the funds. We need to make sure that every citizen in Roane County gets the equal service that we all get. And that's high-speed internet. I think we've got to have it. To move forward and to work in today's times, you must have it, and I think that our government has to be in support.
When you're looking at new development, particularly residential, high-speed internet is going to be the new water as we move forward in the future. There's 3 areas specifically, I think, and the question specifically was about how we want to make sure. So 3 areas I think can help ensure that the money is best spent. First is advocacy, because it's going to be like, as the mayor said there a second ago, it's going to be a little bit like the Wild West, because you've got providers, cable providers who are out there, and they're all going to want a piece of the pie, or maybe they won't, because in a certain area where they need to provide services, it won't make financial sense for them to do so. The county's going to have to provide advocacy on behalf of its people to make sure that those responsible for bringing the service are doing what they say they're going to do. So I think being strong advocates and being the squeaky wheel with those that matter and that can provide the service is number 1. Number 2 is making sure that we have a very firm understanding on exactly who does not have it and what it's going to take to get it there. Put the county in control of what that plan is going to look like to make sure that we know exactly all of the dead spots. Just a short, kind of funny story. But I worked at Oak Ridge National Lab for 3 years. And the director of the lab, Dr. Zachariah, lives actually in Lenore City, so it's not a Roane County issue. But the director of the National Lab, where the world's fastest computer is, does not have high-speed broadband internet access. So this is not just a Roane County problem, but it is our problem. And we know where the issues are. We can be more in control of what it's going to take to get there. And the third thing is, I think in this case, because sometimes it's just not going to make financial sense to run a wire from point A to point B. It's just going to be too much. It may require some creativity and new technologies to be able to provide services to some very remote locations. But making sure that we set it as a priority, as a community and as a government, to say 100% of our people, our households, will have high-speed broadband internet access has to be something that's a priority for us.
What can you do to help fix Airport Road to Rockwood?
Yeah, we had the opportunity to attend a meeting Saturday afternoon and meet folks from 3 counties, really, who are impacted by the fact that this road is literally falling off the mountain, a road that is a very important thoroughway for work for some people, for shopping for some people, to be able to pay their bills or even take their trash out. We talked to some folks, Mayor Best and I both were there, and we talked to some folks who have to leave Roane County, go into Cumberland County, to come back into Roane County just to take the trash off. So the bottom line is this. We have to find a solution. I don't know what that solution is. What I learned there was how it impacts the people, what the solutions are and what the engineering says and what the possibilities are with the steep terrain coming down the mountain. I have no idea, and I'm not going to begin to say this is what I think we should do. But what I can say is I'm absolutely committed to finding a solution that makes sense for the people that live there, and a solution that makes sense for the rest of the residents for Roane County for what we'll have to invest to make it happen. Hopefully that's going to be state and federal dollars instead of county dollars.
As Mr. Criswell said, we had the opportunity to go up Saturday and meet the great people up at Pine Orchard Community Center to talk about Airport Road and what it means to them. And as Mr. Criswell said, we had people from 3 counties there, 3 counties that had concerns about their garbage, how to take it off, concerns about the elders with the medical the problems that they have, getting to the VA clinic, which is down in Rockwood, going and getting groceries, you know. And I said, sit there and listen. I'm not real familiar with Airport Road until just here recently. I've started watching and seeing what's going on. I sat there and I thought, what if this was outside of my house? What if this road was my transportation to what my quality of life is? What if this was me? What if this was my family? And I put myself in your all's place. And I think it's very crucial that we make sure that we find the funding. I hope that county government doesn't have to foot the bill. I hope it is state and federal. We have got state and federal involved. Marcia Blackburn's office was there in attendance. Mr. Yeager said he would do everything he could to help. There's funding there. We heard $1.2 trillion for infrastructure needs of roads, highways, transit, all kind of the funds are there. Prime example of where we could put the funds. We've got to have a plan. We've got to look at the engineering studies. We've got to make sure that we stand up to make sure the people up on the mountain have a way down. One thing I'll say, and they probably don't like hearing this when I say this, but I kept hearing them say, well, I don't get to spend my money in Rockwood, I'm going to spend my money in Harriman. I'm sitting back here as Mayor Harriman and said, bring it on. We want it. But I understand. Our Crossville. I heard the Crossville part and I didn't say bring it on to that. I didn't like that part. But yes, but it is their quality of life. It's been taken from them. I know that the county has spent a lot of money up on Airport Road. But I also know that when the interstate was put in, Airport Road was pushed aside. And a lot of the problems that we have on Airport Road is because of I-40. We have to take the responsibility and make sure that Airport Road gets back the way it needs to be for the people of the mountain. Thank you for being here.
So let's put our hands together for our candidates for County Executive, Wayne Best and Wade Cresswell. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. That's a good job.
We have 6 candidates for state representative, House of Representatives at the state in Nashville. It's District 32. Keaton Bowman, Randy Childs, Monty Fritz, Jan Hahn, Donnie Hall, and Teresa Kirkham are all here with us tonight. You can learn more about each of these candidates on with their bios in your program for tonight. Let me just remind everybody about the rules. It's time for you to talk about your platform tonight. Tell voters why they should vote for you, and we're going to avoid telling voters why they shouldn't vote for someone else. Does everybody agree to abide by that? All right, let's get started. And I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll start with Ms. Kirkham, and I would like for you to tell us who you are, why we should vote for you, and what you plan generally for your first 100 days.
Okay. I'm Teresa Kirkham. I'm a Roane County native. I've spent 38 years in Roane County government. 18 of those years I was your property assessor. My calling is public service. I've served each one of you in the assessor's office over the term of 36 years. I've listened to your complaints, your wants, your needs. The veterans want this, the elderly want that, your tax relief wants this. I've listened to your wage increases, your disgust with Roane County, your positives with Roane County. You want education, you want your elderly to be taken care of, you want your veterans to get disability. I've listened to that for 36 years in Roane County government. I feel like it's my time to step up, that I can help you and your children and your grandchildren and your parents and your grandparents to do something about all the issues that face Roane County in the coming years that we've been through the last 36 years and 50 years. I feel like I'm the person with the county government experience and the knowledge that I can walk up to the next level. I have a hand-in-hand relationship with the local legislator. My first 100 days in office, I'm going to do a lot of listening. I'm going to do a lot of learning. I'm going to collaborate with the surrounding counties and the surrounding legislators. I want to see what's coming back from last year's legislation. I want to see what's going forward. What do you want as my voter? What do you want me to do for you? Mayor Best and Wade Cresswell, what do you want in county government? What can Teresa Kirkham as your representative do for you? What can I do to help you in education? What can I do to help your better schools, your elderly, your lack of housing? At this point in my life, I have helped and was very fortunate to be elected to the Assessor's Executive Board. I've written several laws that enacted tax relief for the veterans, tax relief for the elderly, tax freeze for the elderly, the Greenbelt Law, which affects all the farmers. I've been very active, hand in hand with those legislators, have a good relationship with a lot of them that have retired and gone on in the past. But my first 100 days, I plan on making relationships. I plan on listening. I plan on asking you as the voter what you need, this community what they need, and what I can do for you.
Thank you. It's really good. I'm going to have to project, I think. It's really good to see everybody here tonight. And Kent, it's good to see you after all these years. When we were just young pups, I trained Kent on how to run a radio board, and look where he got. I'm so proud of him. But I am Donnie Hall. I am a graduate of Harriman High School. I went to Roane State and then to the military for 10 years. And in the military, we learn a lot about leadership, and I've been able to practice that leadership in the years after the military. I worked in the maritime industry. I was a risk manager, and for 20 plus years I worked as a leader in that industry, both within the company I worked for and with the industry as a whole. I was on national committees and some international boards that dealt with the maritime industry. My wife and I came back to Roane County and we started the Three Rivers Theater Company because we had a desire to bring the arts to rural East Tennessee. Since Three Rivers started going, we have done productions in 4 different counties, and we've given classes to children and adults from 7 different East Tennessee counties. So that's been a very successful thing. My leadership now is also here at Roane State. I am a head coach. I'm the head coach of men's and women's cross country. I'm the sports information director here, and I am also, it looks like I'm going to be on the bench for the first half of the season for our women's basketball team. So I'm very busy with things that are going on here at Roane State. I'm the eldest of 5 kids, the son of Dick Hall and the late Donna Hall and Harriman. Some of you may know my dad he was the manager of the Harriman Utility Board for many years, and I see some of my mom's friends right out here in the audience tonight, and she, I'm not sure what she would think about this, what we're doing. But anyway, I am a Roane County, and I've been away for a while, but that's a good thing because I've seen how things can happen in other places, and I want to bring these positive things back to Tennessee. Speaking of Tennessee, I think the state's in fine hands. We are the least taxed state per capita in the nation. And that's why so many people are trying to move here, because we've got great tax rates and it's a beautiful state. The state has the largest rainy day fund that it's had in its history, and we are giving back $300 million to the taxpayers this year. Beginning on July 1st, when you go to renew your license tag, $5. Yeah, I mean, that's how awesome the state of Tennessee is right now. I just want to make sure that the state keeps moving in the positive direction that it has been going. Now, I've got 2 minutes for my first 100 days. The biggest thing that a freshman legislator can do in his first 100 days or her first 100 days is to create relationships. And I've already been creating relationships with a lot of people. I have a relationship with Representative Whitson from Williamson County. He's a retired colonel, and he's helping me on an issue right now with an active duty military person who can't get his kids in Tennessee, at University of Tennessee, with in-state tuition. So they're helping me with that right now. The House Caucus leader, Representative Faison, is somebody who's been working with me. That's a relationship that's been developing. And for 40 years, I've had a relationship with Senator Ken Yeager, which is a very strong relationship. Some other things I want to talk about. I'm interested in the first 100 days veterans issues, and we just talked about one of those veterans issues. I want to find money for more SROs in our schools, not just here in the 32nd District, but throughout Tennessee. They are greatly needed. And there was some talk about Airport Road. I've been talking to Senator Blackburn's people. They are looking for some money, and I guarantee you, in my first 100 days, I am going to work to find money for us to be able to repair Airport Road. It's a $5 million project. The traffic heat is not that strong on the road, and the county just doesn't have that kind of money to do those repairs. But as your next representative, I will work diligently and make it one of my priorities to help find the money that we need to repair Airport Road.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's an honor to speak at the O'Brien Theater. This theater was dedicated to the late Senator Annabelle Clement O'Brien, the First Lady of Tennessee politics, and my wife's stepmother. For many years, Annabelle and I would have long conversations about politics, and I can only hope that my career is half as illustrious as hers. So what am I going to do in my first 100 days? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is introduce myself to each of my colleagues, because relationships matter. And then, because I'm a physician, I'm going to now tell you some things that will make you uncomfortable. Our healthcare system, if you call it that, is disjointed, disconnected, dysfunctional. It does not deliver. And I see that every day in my professional life. And so I will begin a series of conversations that I hope will initiate a transformation of the healthcare system. Some of you at this time are probably laughing, others may be scoffing, and perhaps the rest of you are rolling your eyes at this bold statement. Tennessee has the resources to deliver. It has the expertise in every healthcare field to find solutions. We simply must have the will and the courage to proceed. Never be afraid to take a giant step. You cannot cross a chasm in 2 short jumps. We cannot let a fear of failure paralyze us. Because if we cannot solve our own problems, who will? And if we don't start today, when will we? Now, as the evening goes on, you will hear more about me and my experiences professionally. But because I am a practicing family physician for 42 years, though I don't look that old, 1984 I came here, because I'm a practicing small-town rural family physician, because I was a former public high school teacher, because I was the founder of a domestic violence shelter that is now one of the best in the state, and because I was inducted into the Loudoun County Hall of Fame as one of their preeminent businessmen, I bring to the table a set of skills, a point of view, a frame of mind that no one else in the legislature has. I'm not bragging, I'm just stating the facts. And when I'm sitting at the table of decision makers, I will give voice to those who heretofore did not have a voice at that table. So thank you again for listening so attentively. And I look forward to continuing my discussions with you this evening.
Hey, good evening. Hope y'all are doing well tonight. I appreciate you coming out. I want to preface my introductory comments with a couple quotes. First is, "Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord." And why is it important for me to quote scripture to you tonight? Because we're about to celebrate the 4th of July, our independence from a tyrant king in England. And our great founding fathers wrote this document, this Declaration of Independence, with some of the most profound words ever penciled. And they talked about our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And Jefferson followed those thoughts with, "To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men." Folks, we look around us in our society and we see drugs and crime. There are good things. I hear us remind ourselves about low tax rates and how we're in fiscally good shape, but we're not assessing the complete health of our state today. Folks are telling you what you want to hear just to get you to vote. It's not folks on this stage that I'm talking about, it's all across this state. They're unwilling to tell you the truth about the dire situation that we're in this nation and in this state. And if we continue to send politicians and wannabe politicians to serve us in Nashville, it will not get better. First 100 days. It's going to be important not to get coffee for those that we may meet there. It's going to be important not to just kind of pal around with some of the good old boy and good old girl network in Nashville. It's going to be important to go in with a competent stance on those things that we need to get done for our district and for this great state of Tennessee. I think about words that ring true there, and I think about the words of Dr. King, and when he said that genuine leaders are not searchers for consensus, but molders of consensus. And no man or woman can mold consensus without being competent in the areas in which they attempt to mold that consensus. We have a looming energy crisis, folks, that we don't talk about. We all feel the pain of $5 a gallon at the pump today, and there's probably little that we Tennesseans can do about that other than our state tax. But the looming crisis that I'm referring to is our capacity to generate electricity. No one would have forecast the number of people that we have moving into this state that we have today. In 2019, Energy News forecast that TVA was going to close the remainder of the fossil fuel Kingston-type plants by 2028. They today produce about 20% of our electricity for the state of Tennessee. And according to that article, the plan was to replace them with solar farms. I'll ask you a question, and I'll smile as I ask it. How many of y'all have confidence that Joe Biden and his team can deliver there? One. So we are going to have a say at that energy table, how we produce energy. You need someone that's competent in those matters. Allow me, please, the great honor and opportunity to serve you and to apply my experience in 30 years in the nuclear manufacturing business. an MBA at the University of Tennessee, and what I learned there about economics, about accounting, and about macro supply chain management to bring about some change in the state of Tennessee so we have a say in our energy business. We've talked some tonight about infrastructure. Certainly, energy matters are infrastructure for us. Without energy, our economy fails. Without electricity, our economy fails. And we must stay focused on that, folks. As a manager of enriched uranium operations at Y-12 and the director of operations at Nuclear Fuels, I learned how to manage those macro supply chains. As a program manager and an office director in the Trump administration, I learned how to integrate those systems across broad, complex, wide, and very difficult issues, and how to put strategic plans in place. So I'm asking for your opportunity. You give me the opportunity, please, to put that in place for us. We have infrastructure problems in our county, from a Caney Ford Bridge that's too narrow to a road that goes up the mountain that no one can travel, to an impending crisis that we aren't talking about with the fish that are coming in, the Asian carp, that stand a chance to devastate our economy. So I'm Monty Fritz, and I do ask for your vote, and I thank you for your attendance tonight.
I'm Randy Childs, and I'd like to thank each and every one of y'all for coming out tonight, taking the time out of your day to come out to listen to us. If you read my bio, you see I'm probably the most simplest person here. I don't have some of the education that the other ones have, but I go back and I look at the things that I've done in my life to get to where I am now. I'm 54 years old. I started out in the Blair area, Dillis. A lot of you know where that's at. Working on farms with my grandfather, getting to know people, and the biggest thing I've learned over those years was to listen to people. That's where I get my strength from, is listening. I can go and listen to you, listen to the people, listen to the ones we had up here today, just talking about the ones running for county executive stuff. All that brings one thing together. We have to work together or we're not going to go nowhere. Once we work together on things, we can make things happen. I've worked in production, I've worked in manufacturing, I've worked law enforcement, working together with the other cities, counties. That's how we work, make things work out. When I went to 2014, I started running for Kingston City Council. And everybody looked at me and said, "What are you thinking? You've got to be crazy." Well, let me tell you, we got in there, and most of the members are here tonight. I see them in the crowd. I can't look at you and say, "I done this, I done that." I didn't do nothing. Some of the ideas I come up with, some of the ideas they come up with, but we work together, and we've got more in the last 4 or 5 years in the city of Kingston than we've probably seen in the history of Kingston. The first 100 days, I've pretty well summed that up right there in what I've said. Meet with the colleagues out there, talk with them, get to know, let them know where you stand, and let them know that we're going to have to work together. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Keaton Bowman, and I'm running to be your next state representative. First off, I want to say thank you to the Roane Alliance tonight for putting this event together. I believe I can speak for the rest of the candidates saying that we graciously appreciate the opportunity to speak to you, the voters, and for you to hear us out and make your own informed decision. Also, as a former Roane State alumni, it feels good to be back here tonight, and I want to thank Roane State Community College for hosting the event tonight. Getting back to me, like I said, my name is Keaton Bowman. I was born and raised right here in Rockwood, Tennessee. I am the son of a small business owner, Tom Bowman, who owns S.L. Bowman & Sons in Rockwood. My late mother, Mary Kate Bowman, was a public school teacher for over 20 years. I also have a twin sister, Kara, and a wonderful stepmother, Charlotte, and she told me to say that. A little bit about me here. I went to Rockwood High School, graduated from there, attended Roane State Community College and got my associate's degree. Then after that, I went on and furthered my education even more, obtaining a a degree in business communication from East Tennessee State University in Johnson City. Upon graduating from ETSU, I was faced with the decision, like many other people, do I stay up here? Do I go elsewhere? Or do I come home? And that was a decision that I really struggled with, but I decided to make the decision to come home. And the reason why is this is my home. You all are my people. And I don't shy away from a fight. We have many issues facing us today, and I've got to look at the challenge of it. You know, do we shy away or do we take it head on? You know, why I want to be your all-state representative is I want to be your voice in Nashville. I want you all to understand that I will be accessible as your state representative. I want to hear your concerns. I don't have all the answers. I'm relying on you all as much as you all will rely on me. You know, hear your concerns. Come visit with me. So, you know, with that being said, on my first 100 days, the first thing, make myself accessible to you all always. You know, working and establishing good relationships with county leaders, with city leaders, because I truly do understand that in order for us to accomplish all of what we've talked about tonight and all the candidates have talked about, we have to work together, and it's got to be done. You know, one of the things that I see and kept hearing, and it's a little bit discouraging, is I hear the older generation say, well, you know, what kind of world am I going to leave my kids in? And I completely understand that. But what we have to understand is we have to have good leaders step up. Everybody has to step up in some form of capacity and pass the baton, if you say. But like I said, in my first 100 days, I want to make myself accessible. I want to work on education bills. I want to push more vocational education to where we can have, you know, we can feel the demand that is needed right now. We need more electricians, more plumbers, more brick masons. Oak Ridge is always expanding in some form. We need energy workers. I want to work with the businesses that we have here, because we cannot grow our business until we take care of the businesses we have here. And I want to work to help work with the next county mayor to help attract businesses here. Do whatever I can do to make sure that we help. What I'm asking from you all is I'm asking for a chance, for your vote, and for your confidence to be your next state representative. Thank you.
You mentioned that business development is one of the things that's most important to you. I'd like for you to expound on that and talk to us about how you plan on working with the county executive to attract business to Roane County.
Well, I think what was brought up earlier as far as the pilot program, we have to be very realistic on, you know, how we bring in business here. When you're going out lobbying for a manufacturer to come here, the manufacturer is going to look at your area, your tourism rate, your crime rate, your education system. We have to make, in order to sell and to bring in more business, we have to make sure that all of the right keys are in place. We have to be able to say, hey, this is a good community for you to raise your family in. This is a good, safe community for you to send your kids to school in. You know, this is where we can expand. We need jobs here. You need to make money. We understand this. And by helping with the pilot program, by freezing the taxes for a set amount of time, you know, I believe we can bring in more businesses here. And you know, we have to look at what our natural barriers are right here. You know, we're very blessed right here in the 32nd District to have all the major waterways running. Like I say, look at the plants up in Oak Ridge. Look at TVA. We have to find a way to sell ourselves and attract ourselves. And that is what, we have to make sure that we are providing a good future and a sustainable future in order for our kids to stay here, to raise a family here, to work in business here, to not run off to Knoxville, Nashville, because they didn't feel like they could have the best opportunity here. I'm not saying that, that we cannot be in Nashville, but there is absolutely no reason that we can't grow and prosper and come into the 21st century with a good booming local economy here. And as I pledged earlier, I will work with everyone in this room. I will work with everyone in these local businesses. I want to be your voice. I will work with everyone over there at that courthouse. If they have a good idea, let me know, because I don't have all the answers. What I do have are 2 ears and 1 mouth, so I need to listen twice as much as I talk. But I believe we do need to expand on the pilot program and get ready to come out and show people why they should come to Roane County.
Economic development, which Mr. Bowman just spoke about, education, infrastructure, and substance misuse. Among those 4, economic development, education, infrastructure, and substance misuse, which one do you identify with the most?
Well, I would have to say going with the jobs. We're very blessed here in Roane County to actually have the K-25, Y-12, ORNL. A lot of people work there. A lot of you here I've seen tonight work there. Not everybody wants to work up there, and some people don't have the opportunity to be employed there. So therefore, we need to get more business in. While I've been out talking, I've talked to several people about what we offer to bring companies into Roane County. And I've seen a couple of them in the audience tonight. I brought up that I didn't think maybe we offered the right thing to get them here. And they went over several different things that were offered. The stuff with, such as, the one thing that was in there is you have to work in Roane County. You have to live in Roane County to work at it to bring them in. We need jobs in Roane County, but if we can get business in here, production, manufacturing, anything of that nature, we may need to change some of them numbers, because if you're working with the same thing, the same offers, and you're not getting anything, we need to change it and do something to work with it. If elected as a state representative, I'd like to be able to be successful to work with the county executives, the chamber, and everybody to go over to get something maybe better together in these qualifications to get people here. Then there again, we have the school system, like Wade Cresswell was talking. Every direction you go, they offer something different that we don't have. And some of these companies that are coming in, that's what they're wanting. But if we have to have the employees coming directly from Roane County, they look and we don't have the qualifications. So therefore, I guess the school, everything put in together, working together to maybe get a better platform on bringing the companies in.
The categories are economic development, education, infrastructure, and substance misuse. You talked a lot about infrastructure before.
I'm going to touch on that just a little bit. Kent, thank you. And working with the next county mayor, what I think your state representative really has to stay focused on. I think I'm the only one here that oversaw and managed the multi-billion-dollar budget for a new facility, and I can bring some of that to the table. But I can tell you again, just to reiterate, folks, without a affordable, reliable, and we have those first two, and responsive electrical supply, our industry is going to diminish. And when I say responsive, I mean that we have to have enough electricity to be able to not just barely make what we use each day and consume. It should concern you that you're getting messages from your utility provider that you need to raise your thermostats, while other folks are encouraging you to go drive an electric Hummer. Those are inconsistent messages. And we're not talking about raising that energy production and having a Tennessee say in our Tennessee energy production. The next thing that I would touch on is a first 100 days thing as well. And that would be repealing Title 58-2-107. I hold that that Tennessee code is in direct contradiction to Article 2, Section 1 and 2 of the Tennessee State Constitution, where we have 3 departments set up with distinct powers. And so to give the governor or any executive office in the state power to decree law and to shut down business is unconscionable to me. We, for the last 2 years, have lived through a time where we had executive offices issuing executive orders suggesting that you are non-essential. Never again in the state of Tennessee if you elect me. You will have my voice to stand up against that. While many in our legislators sat quiet like little church mice, and this took place a couple years ago, you need a voice. The last thing that I'll mention there, Kent, is the substance abuse. I just sat with my best friend from high school and talked to him about his daughter who had overdosed. As we cried together and thought about that, I start to reflect on the fact that we have an open southern border to the United States of America. And the failed policy of these Democrats is allowing an infusion of drugs like we've never seen it before. And we're doing nothing to clean it up in our communities from a federal level. Shame on them. Our Tennessee General Assembly has not acted to harden Tennessee as a target to prevent that infusion of crimes and drugs into the state of Tennessee. You elect me, you'll have a voice that stands up for that.
Economic development, education, infrastructure, and substance misuse. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on the addiction issue that's going on in East Tennessee, on addiction. And you can speak on that?
Sure.
Anything else?
I'll talk about that. To sell drugs is a crime. To use drugs is not. Is an illness. Let's get that thought on the table and acknowledge that. We need to treat drug addiction as a medical illness and not criminalize the use of drugs. Every day, I sit down with people and talk to them about their addiction because we have at our office in Madisonville a very active Suboxone clinic. And every one of my patients tells me a different story about why they got addicted. Every person is a case of one, so there's no one size fits all. You tailor the treatment to the individual who's looking at you. And so you bring to the table an entire toolbox. What does that include? That includes drug and alcohol rehab programs, Suboxone clinics, methadone clinics, needle exchange programs, Alcohol Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, anti-abuse, safe harbor drug utilization places. All of that is brought to the table. And underlying all of that work is ongoing mental health care. Because when a person uses drugs for many years, their mind is changed, profoundly changed. You can see in the MRI images of substance abusers that the mind is very different than it is for someone who's never used a drug. And so you need to stay with these individuals for a long time. And then, when they are clean, you need to figure out a way with them so that they can reintegrate themselves into our community and become productive members. It is not an easy task. It requires an incredible amount of effort and a lot of sweat and a lot of tears. But it is worthwhile because when I see someone succeed, it is a real miracle, and I feel like I have made a mark that will be long-standing.
You talked quite a bit about your military experience. You talked about education. Our categories are education, economic development, infrastructure, and substance misuse. You're welcome to pick from any of those.
I'll touch on a couple of things. Right off the bat, regarding education, in Tennessee, Common Core is gone. CRT is gone. Last legislative session, our legislature passed a new funding plan for our schools. It will not take place until 2024, but it gives us an opportunity to tweak it as we go forward so that when it is launched, it will be the best funding plan that we can have. Now, I want to say this. Tennessee is $1 billion behind Kentucky and Alabama in how we fund our schools, and we've got to fix that immediately. Our kids deserve more and better than what they are currently getting. I wanted to talk about vocational education just briefly, because Roane State's, since COVID, Roane State's and all the other colleges, our enrollments have dropped, but you go to the vocational schools and their enrollments are raising. Not everybody is made for college. Not everybody. Some people want to get into the trades, and we need those tradespeople. So I want to work on getting more opportunities for people in vocational things. Now, regarding infrastructure is buildings, roads, power supplies, and all these things that are needed to operate societies or individual things. Now, regarding power supplies, in February, TVA unveiled a major new nuclear program for Tennessee, and the Clinch River site is the place where they are going to construct multiple advanced nuclear reactors and at its Clinch River site here in Tennessee. So yes, coal power is going away. Some of the steam plants, like in Gallatin, Tennessee, they're converting it to natural gas, but we are looking at more opportunities with nuclear power here. Right now, Tennessee's infrastructure, going from 2020 to 2025, we need $61.9 billion in infrastructure improvements between now and 2025. In the 32nd District, Roane County is the third on the list, and they are the top three. We need $328.5 million for our infrastructure. And what we're looking at is transportation, law enforcement, recreation, and number 4 on the list is the schools. So there is a lot of stuff that Roane County needs, a lot of infrastructure needs that the state of Tennessee has, and as your representative, I will make sure that we're getting the money to the 32nd District that it needs and to the other places in Tennessee that need it as well.
Tell us, though, out of those categories, and I'll repeat them if you'd like me to, what is your top category? Economic development, education, infrastructure, and substance abuse?
Well, one of my top categories is economic development. I work closely hand in hand with Roane County government and the Washington Congress senators in the pilot program for Roane County. We implemented that for the Department of Energy, and it went very well. One size does not fit all. I'm quoting someone that quoted me. I'm very proud of our industrial board and the economic development that we have going on in Roane County, but we have a framed plan for development. We need it flexible as a rubber band. What does your industry need to locate to Roane County? What can we do for you? 42% of the industries that relocate in Roane County want to know, what do you have? We have utilities, we have waterways, we have rails, we have an airport, we have the biggest national lab in the history of this area. We have the largest computer at that national lab that can do just about anything that needs to be done for you as a business person. We have pilot programs. We have TIF financing in the state of Tennessee. Pilot programs is payment in lieu of taxes, which is easily calculated, but in our county we have a framed category that you have to fit in to have that. You have to have so many employees from Roane County. You have to live in Roane County. There's a lot of little things that go into that. On the TIF tax increment financing, that's the difference in your taxes paid and the taxes that you raise that to. The difference in that goes to pay your payment until it's paid off, and then your complete balance goes to Roane County as tax structure. So economic development is very important to me. I've helped and assisted in owning small businesses in Roane County. I've developed multi-million-dollar properties, made lots of improvements to the county. I understand what it takes to bring businesses to this county. I've been very active in that, along with other folks, partners, and so on. And I'm proud to do it again as your legislature. I'd love to do that again. One thing I want to say about education, I'm all about education. I am highly supportive of the new implemented shoot, it just left me. The 2 years of college and 2 years of high school, and you graduate with the diploma, your associate's degree. I'm all about that. I think that's a great thing for the students to do. And vocational education, I'm 100% behind that. We do need electricians. I just learned the other day by touring the vocational school that once my generation of contractors are gone, we don't have any more contractors to build homes in Roane County. They're offering a new contractors program there. I do think vocational technical education is very important because everybody doesn't want to go to college. Everybody wants a degree, and those jobs, they leave the technical school with great wages. They're very well trained.
And then we'll go back down the list. So if you want to talk about substance abuse in your final 3 minutes, you're welcome to.
Well, I'm not going to try to top Dr. Hahn because he was very smart on that, but 10 deaths a month in Roane County is too many. And I think we need to partner with law enforcement and our local churches and our faith-based community to combat substance abuse. I do think it starts at the border. I did find that out since my investigation of it, and I do think that fentanyl and methamphetamines is coming across the border hundreds a day. And then I'll skip on to my final little spiel. First of all, I want to thank these gentlemen. I really do. We have made friends. I didn't know half of them, knew some of them better than others, but over the course of this campaign, we have run a clean campaign. We have ran into each other, knocking on doors. We've ran into each other here and there, and they have treated me with the utmost respect, and I want to compliment them in front of you all, and I have complimented each one of them in the clean actions that we've had in the clean campaign that we've ran. I'm not used to that as an elected official. I'm used to really having some nasty mud fights, but I appreciate it from these gentlemen. It speaks highly of them. And in my closing arguments, it would be an honor for me to serve as your representative. Like I said, if I get elected to this position, I'll do a lot of listening in Nashville. I'll bring a lot of things back home. I have relationships that I've built there. I have friends that I know there. I was fortunate enough to serve on the executive board of the assessors and got a lot of accomplished for the area of Roane County and Loudoun County, and I hope to continue to do that. I hope that I can make better relationships and form better alliances with the leadership there. You are my voters. I am your representative. My plans are to have an office in Roane County and an office in Lenoir City, so I can be accessible to you. You know the legislature meets the first 100 days of the year. Your year's up by the time you come home. I want you to be able, I enjoyed my time in the office as assessor, and what I enjoyed about it is the interaction with the people. I want you to be able to come in my office as a voter, as a citizen of Roane County or Lenoir City and say, this is what I want, this is what I need. I will be there for you. I will answer your phone calls. I will look up your problems. I will assist the county and cities in getting the money they need to do what they want to do in their areas, to put infrastructure in place, to better educate. In education, I'll follow the guidance of the school board and the county commission. In any way that I can help bring dollars to this county, to preserve it, to make it better, to grow it, to develop it, to help you. I'll be here for you, your families, your children, your grandparents, your parents. As they call on me, I'll answer their questions. I'll implement things that I have implemented in the past to help them with their taxes, to help them with Greenbelt, to help them with the Veterans Disability Act, 100% veterans disability. My goal is to decrease that to 50 to 80, whatever your disability is, you get that off on your taxes. I have many plans and a hopeful future for the state of Tennessee, and it would be an honor for me to serve as your state representative.
First, I want to say thank you to the Alliance for putting this on tonight. It's been fun. I've learned a lot from every one of these candidates who are sitting up here, and it's been. I think there's too many of us, but you know, we've had a good campaign, I think. I've got to say, the red meat issues people ask about a lot. When I'm sure that the others have those too. They want to know where we stand on these national issues that we're really not going to get to deal with at the state level. But Second Amendment, I'm for it. For all those amendments and the whole Constitution, both the U.S. Constitution and the Tennessee Constitution. Border security, we've got to do something there. My brother pastors a church 63 miles from the Mexican border, and the violence has creeped over from Mexico into Texas to where the authorities said, Pastor Hall, you need to make sure that you have some parishioners packing weapons. He goes, this is Texas. But because they are having to pack weapons. But how sad is that we have to bring weapons to church to worship God? I want to talk about the economy. You talked about the $5 gas. It's ridiculous. And from day one, President Biden closed the Keystone Pipeline and stopped drilling on federal lands and stopped any new drilling from going on because he wants green energy. Now, there's nothing wrong per se with green energy, but America runs on oil, and it's going to take a long time to make us not oil dependent. So these are things that are very important to me. I just want to say that moving forward, as early voting starts in about 2 weeks, and you'll be able to start casting your votes. And then August 4th is the primary election. And when you go to the booth, whether it's an early voting or on election day, ask yourself, which candidate is going to be able to represent the 32nd district the best, who will have the alliances in place, who is going to be able to talk to the people in county governments and city governments and be able to represent and lead the 32nd district. Thank you.
I try not to watch the national news much, but I have to. And when I hear politicians carp and cavil and criticize each other, when I hear them dismiss each other with denigrating remarks, I just shake my head in dismay. That's not how politics should be conducted. And I'd like to leave you with the words of Annabelle O'Brien. She said to me one day as we were chopping vegetables in her kitchen, she said, "Jan, politics is a beautiful word. I have seen politicians build hospitals, construct schools, lay down roads. There is no greater honor for a citizen than to be asked by one's fellow citizens to write the laws that govern their relationships with each other. Yes, Jan, politics is a beautiful word. So I'm asking you, let us rededicate ourselves to that vision of politics. Politicians should give voice to the healthiest aspirations of its citizens. Politicians, by their words and their deeds, should inspire the better angels of our souls to unite and solve common problems. Let us dedicate ourselves to that vision and engage anew in this most noble of professions. Thank you.
So I have no desire to be a politician. I have, and I'm not at all dissenting with Dr. Hahn. I know his heart is pure on this, but we have seen politicians run this country into the ground. We're seeing them run our state into the ground. You need public servants. I think the question is simple. Do you want someone who will stand up for your rights, who will fight for your rights? Or would you prefer to have someone go and develop relationships? You people are going to hire, the folks in Loudoun and Roane County are going to hire a representative. Do you want someone to fight for you, Or do you want someone to go be absorbed into the system and become part of a system, a corrupt and broken system that is taking your money, taxing you to death, and violating your rights? I think it's that simple. Education is an important and foundational thing for us. And if you read the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief 3 Act, it was about $1.3 billion, I think, if I got that number correct. It encourages our teachers in our state to instruct K through 3 children on abominable subjects. It encourages anti-Americanism. It's cloaked in that federal legislation. We have good teachers that are morally objectionable to teaching some of the things that come out in our textbooks. I say we stand up for the parents. I say we stand up for those teachers. And I say that we promote purity in the education of our children in the state of Tennessee. We have had elderly folks die alone in hospitals and nursing homes in the last 2.5 years. I've held the hands and watched the tears go down the face of many ladies as they've said, I just wanted to hold his hand, Monty, one more time before he died. 56 years we've been married. I just wanted to hold his hand and they wouldn't let me. I say never again in Tennessee. I say that while your representatives and senators sit like timid little church mice and allow this to happen, you need a fighter. I think your choice is clear. If you want someone to stand up for your rights, pick someone that has proven that he will do that. If you're okay with the status quo politicians, if you're okay with the way things are going right now in the state of Tennessee and these United States of America, I'm probably not your person. I'm still going to love you as fellow Tennesseans, and I'm going to do my dead level best to make sure that this free state continues to be so. But I am asking you to hire me because I'm volunteering to serve you.
Well, that's some hard things to follow there. I guess the only thing that I would have to say at this point now, each one you're standing up here and you've heard from tonight, whichever one gets elected, say a prayer for them because they're going to need it with all the stuff coming into legislation in the upcoming year. Next 2 years that this term will be going, we'll be having things with abortion, substance abuse, everything we've talked about tonight. I don't know where to say we would have to go to take care of these situations, whatever. That'd be a situation where you all are the ones who vote us in. If I was elected, I would want to find out, get everybody's opinion because we're going to have to work together on all this stuff. When we talk about serving and as a politician, sometimes when I hear that a politician, because I've been on Kingston City Council for 2 terms, I myself think 2 terms and be done with. I'm not out here to get a supplement income. I'm here to get stuff done for you. If you want to send someone down to Nashville that can work with other people and get things done, I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
First off, I want to say thank you again to you, Kent, for moderating this forum for us tonight. And I want to reiterate what Ms. Kirkham said. Politics can be a dirty business. We all know this. If anyone watches the news every day, we see it. Bash, bash, bash. I can say, for all of my opponents standing up here today, that even though we are in a deep, heated election, I can say that I have gained friends out of this group. In my conclusion here, what I want to deliver to you, the people, is just a simple motto, just a simple question. What kind of person do you want representing you in Nashville? Do you want a person with the business background? Do you want a person that will fight for better schools for you and your children? Do you want someone that will look after and protect the elderly? Do you want someone that stands with the brave men and women of law enforcement? That person, if you want that, that's me. I want to go out there and be a public servant, not a politician. This is not a full-time job. I have took time away from my job to run for this office because I believe that public service is one of the best things that a person can give back to their community. And I am saying this right now. What you'll get out of me as your state representative, you will get an honest man. You will get someone who will work tirelessly for you. And at the end of my term, when I decide to come home, my biggest goal that I want to say is I left it, when I come home, I left it better than when I come out here. And guys, I want to thank you all for being here tonight. It has been a pleasure. And as we come into these coming weeks, we go to early voting starting July 15th. I want you all to think about the decision. What kind of person do you want to send to Nashville? I ask you for your vote, your prayers, and I thank you all very, very much.
I think you'll agree we have 6 fine candidates for State House of Representatives. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce and Leadership Roane County, thank you so much for being here. God bless you, and make sure you vote.